Guys, so quick little video today. I've been meditating on a lot and reflecting on a lot that's happened this year. Um, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Sarah. I operate an art studio in Maryland, and in the Arts and Entertainment District of Hagerstown. And my business is Painting with a Purpose. This is just my meditative corner, if you will, where I talk about some philosophical, moral, just some deeper thinking kind of topics, things that cross my mind, and even just life updates. And so that brings me to today's topic, after my introduction, which is discipline. So discipline has been like a huge part of becoming who I am today. And I think that with a lot of things that it's just, I've been thinking about my own situation, with like how, people always ask me, how did you open up an art studio? It was a little bit of very little talent. I'm not a very skilled painter, but I love painting and that's what matters to me. It was a lot of discipline and a little bit of luck. It was a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work. So with those factors combined, I was able to put that into practice, and I'm very grateful for that. So, going into the topic of discipline itself specifically, very loud people outside, but yeah, onto the topic of discipline. I feel like with a lot of people, because I really like to encourage and inspire other people to also chase their dreams. I would like other people to, we need less of like a capitalist-based economy, more of like a communal kind of vibe, and that starts with putting our, like, I always say this: what you love to do, what you're good at, and finding a way to serve others through that means. So it's not just a self-serving kind of like, like feeding the machine kind of thing. We're trying to get away from that as a collective, I feel. But on the topic of discipline, I've just been thinking a lot about, like, it's not that most people don't have a vision or that they lack some kind of dream. I think it's mostly just the fact that people lack the resources and oftentimes the time because of our current situation and the disposition of like the current economy and socio-political climate. But then, and other factors, of course, some people actually genuinely like, I guess, probably working 9 to 5. I can't speak for everyone, but I'm sure at least it satisfies some people, and that's okay too. But with any goal, it doesn't even have to be like a career change or anything like that. It could be disciplining yourself to quit a bad habit, disciplining yourself to have a dietary change. I had to do that a little bit when I switched to being a vegan. It just took a little bit, once I saw the cognitive bias that was before my eyes when it comes to, like eating animals, when I say I love them, that was a pretty easy switch. But just making a new pattern. Your brain always has neuroplasticity. It's just about creating those actions that create that new kind of rewiring pattern. And the same thing goes for, discipline for anything. But yeah, I think it's mostly that a lot of people just lack the direction to begin new things. And so it becomes this kind of repetitive, I'm not sure where to start, so I'm just not going to go at all. When rather it should be, finding that path, which is oftentimes like it's a side quest in itself. But for me, I started off a few years ago. I started changing some things by making lists. I became a list maker. It was the only real way to kind of tangibly see all of the things I needed to do for the day written down. And I'm not just talking about like bread, milk, sugar type things. Like, I'm talking about like an actual, like, almost like a spreadsheet of like things that I needed to do. And this was like pages and pages. I would handwrite it too, so I could like make that mental connection. It's different when you're writing versus when you're typing. It does create a different mental connection. So for me, having that physical, tangible, I'm seeing it as I'm putting it down on paper. I'm envisioning myself doing these things as I'm writing it. So that was very helpful. So I became like a list maker, and it was kind of fun to like, check things off the list and be like, all right, I really did that. And I did the same I've kind of, I've held on to this habit of list making for the past, like, I'd say like 4 or 5 years now at this point, and it's really helped me a lot. I write a new list every week, and it evolves with my goals. It's really cool. Other people might have a different way of going about it, but the way I like to do is like the physical making a list kind of thing, because it really does. It helps your brain. There's just something about it, like it really does help it kind of click and stay there. But yeah, I think that it's more about, yeah, not lacking a dream or a goal, but about lacking the, like the first step and how to get there. But, I've seen it happen in my own life. Like, I've seen it happen, taking the steps to move forward and then proving to myself I've showed up for myself time and time again. And it's a very, very rewarding feeling. And it makes it easier to overcome struggles as well when they do come. And they do. But it's a great problem solving skill too. How am I going to get through this? What's the next step? What's the next best thing I can do? And it makes you see that there are a lot of options, even when things don't go as planned. And it's a really great feeling. So yeah, and I feel like, yeah, and it's, instead of having like an empty kind of like just like a vision, it's or a dream, and just like not knowing, it's just like you're creating that path to get there. So discipline has been like a huge tool for me in reaching my goals, like seeing like just, you do one thing and then the next thing gets easier. You do one thing and the next thing gets easier, because you set up these kind of like expectations of yourself, and these reasonable expectations of yourself, something that's very doable, something that's very real. Um, and so it's not about lack of a dream, it's just about the lack of, like I said before, um, I'm sorry if I'm being recursive again, but like the lack of, um, like instead of just having like like most people have the vision, but they don't have the like the coherent, tangible kind of like, um, they haven't carved out the path to get to said vision. So it's like not about like, they have a concept of it, but they lack the actual like way to manifest it, if that makes sense, to like actualize it and have it physically manifest, through your own actions. And it's not just about like, oh, I'm going to go on a whim. That's usually where things go wrong, right? Because you're doing it on a whim. You're doing it out of impulse, and you're wondering why things are going wrong because you're just chasing this kind of vague idea or a concept of something that you'd like to reach the end, the end goal. Um, which I've learned that also doesn't really exist, because we're constantly changing our goals. We're constantly evolving and adapting to our circumstances, and sometimes they change too. Sometimes they change with us, and sometimes they change for the better and worse. But that's part of learning how to overcome the obstacles part, right? So, um, but yeah, instead of just following these like vague impulses to kind of be like, oh, well, I think I know what I want in this life, so I'm gonna do, whatever I want, I'll do what I want and just follow, this feeling. No, you have to like hold the feeling, see what can I do to get to what I want, and then just play it out, have it played out. You don't just follow your impulse. That's where things, it just strays off into this vague kind of, the idea remains an idea. But I feel like more often than not, when you have that tangible, you follow the thread, you create the path, that's discipline. So that's what I'm getting at. And I think that it's a great tool to have. Um, I have my own lapses of, I I'll say, well, I'm gonna do this today, and then, I'll do something else, and I'll take a day for myself, but keep at it. You have to keep at it. I didn't get where I am by just, I know I always wanted to be an artist, and that I felt like I am an artist, without, putting too much weight into that label. But like, yeah, it's just becoming what you are and who you are meant to be every day through your actions. And that's exactly what I've done. So I hope this helps. Anyone who it might be struggling to like, find a way forth, or to, you don't have to be hard on yourself to have discipline. You can absolutely have fun while being disciplined. I do. Um, so just remember, it's not about, cracking the hammer on yourself. It's about saying, okay, well, I want to get the best out of my one short, sweet life. what's the best way I can go about doing that. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I hope that you guys are having a great day, evening, morning, whatever time it is that you're watching this. And I appreciate your views as always. And I hope this helps. And I hope you guys have a great day and have a blessed day. And you'll see me next time.